Welcome to the eClinicalWorks podcast. I'm Brian Hughes. After the initial go-live of using the eClinicalWorks product, the goal is to get back to normal. However, it can be hard to expand your knowledge past that initial experience. As technology and software are rapidly integrating and changing, so is the learning curve. Here with me today is Surya Racharella with the implementation and optimization team here at eClinicalWorks.
Hi, Brian.
How are you, Surya?
Thank you for having me today.
Thanks for being here. So, when a practice goes live on eClinicalWorks initially, what are some of the struggles, after a certain amount of time that they might run into?
After the successful go live, practices fail to adapt all the products and the features that are present in the application. And based off of my experience, some of the services which I can think of on the front office side was the kiosk, the patient portal, and the e-payment solutions, and the Helo Open Access. And from the clinical side, for the MAs, they struggle with the entering the medication, which they don't know that we already have an external RX history where it gives you a real-time medication information where all they have to do is just do the taking or not taking. And for the providers, and they fail to utilize the features that are already with the eCW system, the templates, order sets, and the right chart panel, the eCW, integrated clinical wizard is what we call.
So there are a lot of tools that you just mentioned that some of the providers may not know that's there, and so they might run into bad habits initially, correct?
Yeah, they end up spending a lot of time doing the charting, and some of the providers, they complain that they take it back home.
So you mentioned a lot of things that kind of align with physician burnout, which we had a series on a few weeks back with Adam Salati. Now, does eClinicalWorks offer any type of service or solutions to help those eClinicalWorks users use the system to its full potential?
Yes, absolutely. eClinicalWorks offers optimization services. These optimization services are suitable for the clients who are already live with eClinicalWorks. And in optimization services, we have three different approaches. One is a discovery phase, one is analysis, and one is recommendations phase.
Great. So if someone wants to move forward with your optimization services, how does your team, the optimization team, get involved, and how do they contact and interact with the customer?
The practices may reach out to their practice assigned SAM, or they can also put in a request through our support portal, my.eclinicalworks.com. Or they can also, if they're visiting any of the eCW days, they can also reach out to our consultants, and they can help them out signing up the optimization services.
That's great. So once you're assigned to an account or a customer, do you reach out to them? Do you facilitate an on-site to kind of view some of their workflows and how they're actually using the system?
Yeah. So the first step would be the sales team would reach out to the practice, and then they help them with their contract based on the size of the practice. They help them with their contract, and once the client signs up the contract, it would be sent to our business analysis team, and someone from our team would reach out to the client. We do a kickoff call and explain the roles and responsibilities of an analyst when they go on site, and what they try to achieve out of the on-site visit. Yeah.
So before you go on site, is there anything the practice can do to prepare for that on site? Anything they can give you so that you kind of know what to expect?
Absolutely. So we always recommend to list down all their pain points or their focused areas where they wanted to utilize these optimization services. And so we request the clients to list down all their pain points and send it back to us.
That's great. So once you've completed your on-site and viewed their workflows and how they're using the system, if you discover any gaps or any underutilized products that they might have, how do you deliver that information to them, or how do you communicate that to them?
After the on-site visit, so we send out a deliverable called Discovery Site Visit Report, which would be sent within 2 weeks time frame. And we also send out an optimization services reports. The reports includes the patient safety dashboard, task dashboard, RX dashboard, the templates dashboard, and the order set dashboard. And all these reports were run backdated to last 1 year for the practice, so that we can identify to see how they're performing with utilizing these features. And one of the important part was majority of the practices, based off of my experience, they like the RX dashboard, which gives them more insights of how a provider is prescribing medications and also the control drugs, and they can also identify the medication that are not associated with an NDC code. So these reports would help them to identify and go back and look into the system and associate those NDC codes that are missing.
That's great. So that you provide them with analytics to tell them how they're actually using the software and what features they're utilizing or underutilizing. That's great.
Absolutely.
So once a practice identifies, a particular feature or a workflow that there's a gap in, what are the different approaches that customers can take in terms of correcting those?
There are 3 different execution tracks the practice may approach once we deliver them our deliverables. The first one is the DIY, and second one is the hybrid, and third one is the eCW recommended. And in the DIY approach, we deliver the client the discovery site visit report, and the practice identifies and they work on their own to do the system build with the identified gaps. And in the hybrid approach, we deliver them the discovery site visit report, and the eCW recommends the super user training in the hybrid approach, based off of the gaps that the client recommends. So the client recommends the gaps, and then we recommend the super user training in the hybrid approach. Whereas in the eCW recommended, we deliver the discovery report, and we provide the super user training and end user training to the clients based off of the identified gaps.
So the customer really has a choice of their 3 different approaches in terms of how they can correct some of those inefficiencies that they might have in their office.
That's correct.
That's great. So I actually have a customer experience here that said, they were shown several things that make their life easier for documentation, and they never really had formal training, and it was very helpful. Would you be able to speak more upon that?
Yeah, one of my customer, I think Tulip Tree Health Center, they were having challenges with documentation, spending more time on the documentation. So I helped them. So when I went back and during my observation, they were underutilizing the templates. For instance, say for the pediatrics, we have a templates from 0 to age of 21, and nobody knows it. And when I asked the providers, and they were quite surprised to see that we already have these templates in the system, and they were underutilizing them. And so that really helped them. This was one of the challenges for them. That really helped them. And when I showed their the templates, and they started using it, and they were able to complete the charting by the end of the day.
So eClinicalWorks has the tools, and you're making the recommendations based off, their practice.
Yes.
That's great. I have another one here actually from the StatCare CEO that says eClinicalWorks has so many features that we really were underutilizing, and having an expert on site was immensely helpful. Would you be able to speak upon that experience as well?
Yes. So we turned on a feature called Tracking Board to the StatCare Urgent Care, and I walked through them with the Tracking Board features that we offer. And Tracking Board is nothing but which is more of an advanced version of an office visit screen, which would let the urgent cares change the provider on the fly. As it's an urgent care setting, based off of the emergency, they can just change the provider when they walk in. And you can also do the check-ins and check-outs from the Tracking Board. And once the provider orders any labs, the MA can go back. They don't have to go to the progress notes or into the labs. They can enter the lab results from the Tracking Board, and then they can check out the patient, and also making sure that they can publish the results to the patient portal right from the Tracking Board. Isn't that great?
That's great. So also, I assume, individuals might want to seek out your services with any version upgrades or moving from the EXE to the browser. Do you have any feedback on that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had one of the client where they were switching from 10E to 11E, and before my site visit, I've recommended the client to upgrade to the 11E so that when I visit on site, I can show them all the new features that are in 11E. And apparently the client upgraded before my site visit. And when I went on site, so I walked through them all these new features with the security controls, with the enhanced security controls that we have as in today with the login settings under the admin, which would let the administrator control their staff logins when they can log in and log out.
That's great. Sounds very impactful. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on the podcast today and speaking to a lot of your experiences.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for joining our podcast today. You can find more information about our optimization services on my.eClinicalWorks or reaching out to your strategic account manager. You can also find more podcasts on our website, my.eClinicalWorks, iTunes, or YouTube. On behalf of the podcast team, thank you for joining today.